When you embody a new identity physically, your brain has no choice but to follow. Generate the emotions of your new identity before the evidence appears. Feel successful before the success. Feel loved before the relationship. Feel healthy before the healing. Welcome to the Reality Revolution. I'm your host, Brian Scott, and today we have one of my most important activations. There's one concept I want you to walk away from this episode with, indelibly burned into your heart, and that is, you can be anyone you want to be. The person you were 5 minutes ago is already gone, dead, replaced 10 billion times over by new cells, new thoughts, new electrical impulses firing through your neural pathways. Yet here you are, still playing the same character, still wearing the same invisible costume of limitation you put on this morning when you remembered who you were supposed to be. But supposed to be according to who? Every genius, every leader, every revolutionary who ever changed the world started exactly where you are, as potential wearing a disguise. Einstein was a patent clerk. Larry Ellison was born into poverty, and now he's worth $200 billion. Tesla was dismissed as crazy. They weren't special. They just stopped asking permission to become whoever they wanted to be. Your potential is not hiding. It's not waiting for you to find it. It's screaming at you through every desire, every dream, every moment of dissatisfaction with the role you're playing. That restlessness you feel, that's not failure. That's your unlimited self rattling the cage of who you've settled for being. Maybe right now you're stuck in a bad situation. Maybe you feel like it's too late. You're too old. You're too tired. You're too overweight. Maybe you've given up on the idea that you can be anyone you want to be, but I'm telling you right now, that is far from the truth. The universe doesn't care about your resume. It doesn't check your credentials. It responds only to who you decide you are in this moment. And that decision, that single powerful reality-bending decision, requires no one's approval but your own. You already are what you want to be. You just need to stop pretending you're not. Stop rehearsing limitation. Stop practicing smallness. Stop perfecting the art of being less than what you came here to be. This activation isn't about adding something to you. It's about stripping away the lie that you're locked into what you've been. When I say you can be anyone you want to be, let's get clear about what that means. Because most people think about being something means collecting evidence, building a resume, earning the right. They think being is about proof. But being, real being, happens before the evidence. Being is the cause, not the effect. Who are you? Not your name, not your job, not your story. Who are you? Most people answer with a list of limitations disguised as facts. I'm someone who never finished college, or I'm someone who's bad with money, or I'm someone who comes from a broken family. I'm someone who always blah, blah, blah. I'm someone who never blah, blah, blahs. Listen to yourself. Listen to how you complete that sentence, I am. Every word after that becomes a command to reality. Every word becomes a prison bar. Every word becomes a prophecy you'll spend your life fulfilling. You want to be successful, confident, loved, creative, wealthy, healthy, but You've spent years, decades, building an airtight case for why you can't be those things. You've gathered evidence like a prosecutor building a case against your own potential. Your parents' limitations became your ceiling. Your failures became your identity. Your fears became your facts. The gap between who you are and who you want to be is nothing but a story. A story you believe so deeply that reality organized itself around the story. You're not living your life. You're living your story about your life, and that story was written by a child trying to make sense of a world they didn't understand, edited by every rejection, every failure, every voice that told you to be realistic. But realistic according to what? According to statistics that don't apply to you? According to people who gave up on their dreams? According to a society that needs you to stay small so that you keep buying solutions to problems that only exist because you believe in them? You're walking around in an invisible straitjacket made of shoulds. Should be more responsible, should be more like them, should wait your turn, should know your place, should be grateful for what you have. But these shoulds become chains, and these chains become so familiar you think they're part of you. The tragedy isn't that you can't be anyone you want to be. The tragedy is that you already are someone extraordinary, someone unlimited, someone magnificent. But you're suffocating them under layers of who you think you're supposed to be. You're a divine being playing a character so small that you've forgotten you're the one who created the role. Every morning, you wake up and put on this costume of limitation. You rehearse your lines. I can't because I'm not the kind of person who. That's just not me. Really, like a perfect mirror reflects this performance back to you as if it's truth. Really, this all comes down to two words. The two most powerful words in any language, the words that are the technology of creation itself. I am. When Moses asked the burning bush for God's name, the answer wasn't a name. It was a technology. I am that I am. Not I was or I will be, but I am. Present tense, eternal, unchanging, yet containing all change. The name of the creative force of the universe is consciousness declaring itself into existence. Why? Because I am is the only truth that requires no proof, no validation, no external confirmation. Before you can doubt anything, you must first exist to doubt it. Before you can think anything, you must first be. I am is the one statement that proves itself by being stated. It's the primordial declaration from which all reality springs. You have access to this same technology. Every time you say I am, you're not describing, you're decreeing. You're not observing, you're creating. You're using the exact same power that spins galaxies and grows forests and beats your heart without you thinking about it. But look how carelessly you use it. Declaring statements like I am broke, or I am stuck, or I am unlucky, or I am too old, I am too damaged. You're using the name of God to curse yourself. Does it not give in the 10 Commandments, thou shalt not take the Lord's name in vain? You're using the technology of creation to build your own prison. You're speaking reality into existence and then wondering why reality looks exactly like your words. Mystics knew. The ancient teachings all pointed to this. I am is not just language. It's the code that programs reality. It's the password to the quantum field. It's consciousness collapsing infinite possibility into specific experience. When you say, I am, the universe doesn't question it. It simply rearranges itself to match your declaration. This is why you can be anyone you want to be. Because being begins with declaration. I am successful. And watch how opportunities suddenly appear. I am creative. And watch how ideas begin to flow. Say, I am healthy. And watch how your cells reorganize. Not because you earned it, not because you deserve it, but because you declared it with the same authority that creates worlds. You think shapeshifting is a fantasy. You're shapeshifting constantly. Every I am is you shifting into a new shape, a new form, a new possibility. The only difference between you and the person living your dream life is they're declaring different things after those two sacred words. I am doesn't describe what is, it commands what must be. It's not a report of current conditions, it's an invocation of new reality. When you truly understand this, when you feel it in your bones, you realize you've been walking around with the power of creation in your mouth, using it accidentally, randomly, unconsciously, creating a life you don't even want. What if you stopped using I am to report on your limitations? What if you started using it the way it was meant to be used? As a technology of becoming. What if you realized that the gap between any two states of being is just words, two words, I am. You're not just capable of being a different version of a human. You have access to all consciousness. Every state of being that has ever existed is available to you because consciousness is not personal. It's universal. You're not in consciousness. You are consciousness playing at being human. Think of the greatest actors who ever lived. When Daniel Day-Lewis becomes Lincoln, he doesn't pretend, he becomes. When Meryl Streep takes a role, she doesn't act, she inhabits. They slip into a new consciousness like putting on a new skin. But here's what they understand that most people don't. They're not doing something unnatural. They're doing what consciousness does naturally, shape-shifting, flowing, becoming. You have this same ability, except you're not limited to human roles. When you truly grasp the power of I am, you realize you can assume any state of consciousness that exists, because I am is the universal password. It doesn't just work for human identities, it works for everything. Close your eyes for a moment and declare, I am the jaguar. Feel it, not imagine it, feel it. The coiled power in your muscles, the absolute presence in this moment, the fearless confidence moving through space, sand beneath your paws, the rush of pure instinct. You're not pretending to be a jaguar. You're accessing jaguar consciousness that already exists in the unified field. Now shift, I am the eagle. Feel your consciousness expand those wings. The thermal currents become visible, the earth drops away, but you're not afraid, you're home. Your vision sharpens until you can see the mouse moving in the grass a mile below. This isn't imagination, this is consciousness recognition. The eagle's awareness is not separate from yours, it never was. Why is this possible? Because separation is the illusion, individual identity is the mask. Underneath every form, every being, every expression is the same I am wearing different costumes. The same consciousness that beats as your heart beats, as the jaguar's heart, soars as the eagle, grows as the tree, burns as the star. When you say I am wealthy, you're not trying to become something foreign to you. You're accessing wealth consciousness that already exists. When you say I am confident, you're not building something from scratch. You're tuning into confidence frequency that's always been available, like a cosmic radio. You're just changing the station. This is why the great mystics could perform miracles. They understood they weren't limited to one narrow band of consciousness. They could assume the consciousness of health in the presence of disease. They could assume the consciousness of abundance in the presence of lack. They could become the solution instead of focusing on the problem. Every successful person understands this intuitively. They don't wait to feel successful. They assume success consciousness first. They put on that identity like a perfectly tailored suit. They walk into the room as success, not hoping for it. They speak from achievement, not toward it. They inhabit the frequency before the evidence appears. You can go deeper. You can assume the consciousness of the oak tree, patient, rooted, unshakable, growing invisibly but inevitably. You can assume the consciousness of the ocean, vast, powerful, accepting everything, resisting nothing. You can assume the consciousness of the mountain, eternal, unmoved by temporary storms, watching civilization rise and fall while remaining perfectly centered. Each of these states of consciousness carries gifts, powers, perspectives that can transform any situation you're facing. Feeling scattered, become the mountain. Feeling rigid, become the water. Feeling weak, become the jaguar. As a shift in consciousness using the technology of I am. This is remembering you're not just a human having a conscious experience. Your consciousness having a human experience, and consciousness can become anything because consciousness is everything. Which brings us to identity shifting, which is the mechanism of reality creation itself. When you change who you are, you don't just change your behavior, you change the entire universe's response to you. You shift into a parallel timeline where that identity already exists. Neville Goddard understood this. He called it the law of assumption, assuming the state of the wish fulfilled. But what he was really teaching was identity shifting. When you assume a state, you're not pretending, you're shifting your core identity to someone for whom that state is natural, normal, inevitable. You become someone who doesn't need to attract success because you are success. You don't need to find love because you are loved. Science is finally catching up to what mystics always knew. Neuroscientists have discovered that your brain can't tell the difference between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. When you assume a new identity with complete conviction, your neural pathways completely rewire. New synaptic connections form. Old ones that supported your former identity begin to prune away. Your brain physically becomes the brain of the person you're choosing to be. But it goes deeper. Quantum physics shows us that observation collapses possibility into reality. And what is identity but the ultimate observation? When you declare I am, you're observing yourself into existence. You're collapsing infinite potential into a specific expression. The universe has no choice but to match that observation. Studies on personality change reveal something extraordinary. People who experience sudden identity shifts often report that their entire world changed overnight. Not gradually, instantly. Friends noticed they were different. Opportunities that never existed suddenly appeared. Problems that seemed permanent simply dissolved because they weren't the same person anymore, and reality had to adjust to match. The Heart Math Institute has measured this. When you shift your internal state, your heart rhythm patterns change, creating a different electromagnetic field around your body. This field extends 8 to 10 feet in all directions. You are completely broadcasting a different signal, and everyone and everything in your field responds to that new broadcast without knowing why. Dr. Joe Dispenza's research shows that when people sustain a new identity for just 4 days, fully embodying it, thinking from it, feeling from it, their gene expression changes. Genes that were dormant activate. Genes that were creating disease deactivate. Your DNA is not your destiny. It's responding to your identity. You're not trapped by your genetics. Your genetics are following your I am declarations. This is timeline shifting in real time. Every identity contains its own timeline, its own trajectory, its own inevitable outcomes. The you who identifies as wealthy exists on a different timeline than the you who identifies as struggling. They are parallel realities, and the only thing keeping you in one versus the other is your identity lock, your insistence on being who you've always been. Every moment you're choosing which timeline to experience based on who you're being. The universe is not punishing you or rewarding you. It's matching you. It's reflecting your identity back to you with mathematical precision. Change your identity, and you quantum leap into a different timeline where different things are possible, probable, inevitable. The Stanford Psychology Department discovered when people adopt what they call growth identity versus a fixed identity, their IQ actually increased. Their problem-solving ability enhances. Their creativity expands, not because they learned new things, but because they became someone who has access to more intelligence. The intelligence was always there. The identity was the lock. Every breakthrough, every quantum jump, every overnight success story is an identity shift. The person didn't change their circumstances. They changed who they were. They started to understand the fact that they could be anyone they want to be. And circumstances, once they shifted, had no choice but to rearrange themselves around the new identity. This is the mechanism by which consciousness creates reality. So what actually makes up an identity? Because if you're going to shift, you need to understand its components. Identity isn't one thing, it's a constellation of elements vibrating together what you experience as you. First, there's your self-concept, the story you tell yourself about who you are when no one's listening. The inner narrative runs constantly like a radio station broadcasting in your head. I'm the kind of person who, I always blank, I never blank. This story feels like truth, but it's just a story you've told so many times you've forgotten you're the author. Then there's the emotional signature, the feelings you return to most often. Every identity has a home frequency, an emotional baseline it defaults to. The millionaire's emotional signature is different from someone struggling, not because of the money. The money came because of the signature. Confidence, fear, joy, worry, these aren't reactions to your life. They're the creative force shaping it. Your belief architecture forms another layer, not just what you believe, but what you believe is possible for someone like you. These beliefs are like invisible walls. You won't even try to walk through them because you can't see they're there. They masquerade as facts. People like me don't. That's just not realistic for someone who. Every belief is a command to reality. Then there's your culture, your ethnicity, your family, your income level, your religious beliefs, your political beliefs. All of it has shaped your identity. You have chosen to be this person, but over time it has chosen you. Your body holds identity too. The way you breathe, your posture, your muscle tension, the way you move through space. Your body is constantly voting for who you are. Slumped shoulders aren't just expressing defeat, they're creating it. Your cells are listening to your posture, your breathing patterns, your physical state, and organizing themselves to match. Your language patterns lock in identity. The words you choose, the questions you ask, the way you describe your life. Language is not describing reality, it's creating it. Someone who says, I can't afford that, lives in a different universe than someone who asks, how can I afford that? Same situation, different identity in different timelines. Now here's how you shift it. And this is not a 10-year process. Identity can shift in an instant when you understand the mechanism. First, you must disrupt your current identity pattern. Stop mid-sentence when you catch yourself saying, I always. Stop mid-thought when you notice an old story starting. Stop mid-emotion when you feel the familiar frequency. You can't build an identity on top of an old one. You have to create space. Don't just think about your new identity. Become it physically. Stand the way they would stand. Breathe the way they would breathe. Move through space with their confidence, their grace, their power. Your body is the fastest way to shift identity because your body doesn't lie. When you embody a new identity physically, your brain has no choice but to follow. Generate the emotions of your new identity before the evidence appears. Feel successful before the success. Feel loved before the relationship. Feel healthy before the healing. I'm not talking about pretending. This is using emotion as the creative force it actually is. Emotion is the language of the quantum field. When you sustain a new emotional signature, reality reorganizes to match it. Every decision is an identity declaration. So watch your decisions. Every choice is a vote for who you're becoming. So watch your choices. Start making decisions from your new identity, not toward it. What would the wealthy version of you order for lunch? How would the confident version of you walk into that room? What would the healthy version of you do in the next hour? Every decision is a mini identity shift that compounds into transformation. You can try this technique. Close your eyes and see your future self who already embodies your desired identity. Instead of working toward them, collapse the timeline. Merge with them. Feel them stepping into your body now. Their thoughts become your thoughts. Their feelings become your feelings. Their certainty becomes your certainty. You're not becoming them someday. You're allowing them to inhabit you today. Stop asking permission to be who you want to be. Stop waiting for evidence that you have allowed to shift. You are consciousness itself. You have absolute authority to be anyone, to experience anything. Declare your new identity with the same authority that creates worlds. I am. Not I want to be, or I'm trying to be, or I hope to be. I am. Present tense, done, complete. And here's what seals the shift. Consistency of assumption. Every time the old identity tries to reassert itself, return to the new one. Not through force, but through choice. Like tuning back to your favorite radio station when the static interferes. The more consistently you choose the new identity, the faster reality reorganizes around it. Now you can actually download the expertise, skills, and capabilities of anyone who has ever mastered what you want to master. You may be saying, well, that's going to be too hard for me. It's going to take too long. I could never be that good. But there is a technology, the science of modeling, taken to its quantum level. Mirror neurons in your brain fire the same way when you watch someone perform an action as when you perform it yourself. But what neuroscientists are beginning to understand, when you don't just watch but become that person in consciousness, you activate what researchers call neural Wi-Fi. Your brain starts downloading their patterns, their strategies, their instincts, their genius. Every master, every genius, every high performer has created a morphic field, an energy template of their excellence that exists in the quantum field. Rupert Sheldrake's research proves that these fields are real, measurable, and accessible. When a rat learns a maze in London, rats in New York learn it faster. When Roger Bannister broke the 4-minute mile, suddenly dozens could do it. The barrier wasn't physical, it was consciousness. He created a new template that others could access. You can access any template. When you declare, I am Tiger Woods, you're not pretending. You're accessing the morphic field of his golf mastery. His thousands of hours of practice have created an energy signature, a consciousness pattern that exists independently of his physical body. And through the technology of I Am, you can download it. Professional athletes have discovered this. A study at the University of Chicago found that basketball players who mentally practiced free throws by embodying NBA players improved almost as much as those who physically practiced. But the key was they didn't just visualize, they became those players in consciousness. They accessed the field of expertise. The military calls it cognitive downloading. Elite special forces are trained to model the consciousness of history's greatest warriors before missions. They don't just study tactics, they embody the identity, instincts, and intuitive knowledge. They report experiencing abilities they never trained for, making decisions from wisdom they never learned, because wisdom isn't personal, it's universal, waiting to be accessed. Musicians have known this forever. When a jazz musician says the music plays them, they're not being poetic. They're describing what happens when they access the morphic field of jazz mastery. Every note Charlie Parker ever played, every innovation Miles Davis discovered, every rhythm, art Blakely created, it's all there in the field, available to anyone who knows how to tune in. Here's how to do it. Choose your model, someone who has mastered what you want to master. Don't study them, become them. Feel their confidence in your body. Feel their certainty in your bones. Feel their expertise flowing through your neural pathways. Declare I am and their name, and feel the shift. Your brain doesn't know the difference between their experience and yours when you embody it completely. You can stack multiple models. I am Einstein's genius. I am Warren Buffett's financial mastery. I am Tesla's innovation. I am Maya Angelou's eloquence. You're not limited to one morphic field. You can access them all, create a unique synthesis that never existed before. You become a walking convergence of excellence. The research is staggering. Chess players who model grandmasters before games show EEG patterns similar to those grandmasters. Public speakers who embody great orators demonstrate vocal patterns they never practiced. Writers who become their literary heroes suddenly access vocabulary and sentence structures beyond their normal range. This works because consciousness isn't individual. We are all one. It's collective. Every skill anyone has ever developed, every breakthrough anyone has ever made, every level of mastery anyone has ever achieved, it's all uploaded to the collective field, and you have the password, I am. When you model at this level, you're not copying someone's surface behaviors. You're accessing their deep structure, the consciousness pattern that creates their excellence. Their years of practice become your instant access. Their hard-won wisdom becomes your intuitive knowing. Their expertise becomes your natural ability. The key is totality. You can't partially become someone and access their field. You have to completely assume their identity, even just for minutes. Feel what it feels like to be them. Think their thoughts. Feel their feelings. Access their certainty. And watch how abilities you never developed suddenly come online. When you model someone who has overcome what you're facing, you download their solution. When you become someone who has healed from what you're healing from, you access their healing pattern. When you embody someone who has achieved what you want to achieve, you collapse the timeline between where you are and where they are. Let me just tell you about the living proof that walks among us, real people who shattered every law of limitation by becoming someone else entirely. There's a woman named Vera Wang, 40 years old, failed figure skater, passed over for editor-in-chief at Vogue after 16 years in a world that tells women they're finished at 40. She did something extraordinary. She didn't just change careers. She became someone who had never heard of limitations. At 40, she declared herself a fashion designer, had never designed a single dress, never been to design school, but she didn't become a student of fashion. She became fashion itself. Today, she's a billionaire who revolutionized an entire industry because she understood you don't need permission to become anyone. Or consider the janitor at Columbia University, James Murray, mopping floors, emptying trash cans. But every night, he would sit in empty classrooms and become a scholar. Not study to become one, be one. He would touch the desks where professors taught and download their knowledge. Students thought he was crazy, talking to himself in multiple languages. 12 years later, that janitor could speak 7 languages fluently. Never took a single class. The university tested him. His knowledge exceeded most professors. He completely downloaded expertise from the morphic field of that institution, and now he became a professor at that same university. Then there's the homeless man in Los Angeles, living under a bridge, Alonzo Clemens, severe brain injury from childhood, IQ measured at 50, could barely speak. But something extraordinary happens when he sees any animal for just seconds. His hands become the hands of Michelangelo. He creates perfect sculptures, accurate to the finest detail, muscle structure, proportions, expressions that sell for tens of thousands of dollars. He can't explain how. He says he just becomes the animal, and his hands know what to do. Scientists have no explanation, but we do. He's accessing the morphic field of sculptural mastery without ever studying it. A convicted felon, Curtis Carroll, serving 54 to life, discovered the financial section of a newspaper in prison. Couldn't read properly, but instead of learning to read first, he declared, "I am Wall Street." Started teaching himself by becoming what he called the consciousness of money. Other inmates laughed. Guards thought he'd lost it. Today, he's known as the Oracle of San Quentin, managing portfolios, teaching financial literacy, his stock picks outperforming most hedge funds from a cell with no internet. No formal education, just consciousness assuming a new identity. Then, of course, there's Sarah Breedlove. Born to slaves, orphaned at 7, married at 14, widowed at 20. Working as a washerwoman, making $1.50 a day, suffering from a scalp condition that made her hair fall out. At 37, she had a dream, where in her words, a big black man appeared and gave me a formula. She woke up and declared herself Madam C.J. Walker. Not her name, a complete identity shift. She didn't learn business, she became business. First self-made female millionaire in America, not despite being a black woman in 1905, but because she became someone for whom those limitations didn't exist. A stuttering farm boy from Missouri couldn't speak without stammering, rejected by every film studio. Even Dale Carnegie told him he'd never make it in entertainment. But he didn't try to fix his stutter first. He became someone who had never stuttered. He would stand in cornfields and be Clark Gable, be Humphrey Bogart, not imitate, become. That stuttering farm boy was James Earl Jones, the voice of Darth Vader, the voice of God, the most commanding voice in entertainment history. These are people who understood the technology you now understand. They didn't overcome limitations. They became someone for whom those limitations never existed. They didn't gradually change, they shifted instantly, completely. And if a janitor can become a professor, if a homeless man with brain damage can become Michelangelo, if a washerwoman can become a millionaire, then who are you to say you can't become anyone? The evidence isn't hiding, it's everywhere in every field, in every industry, in every domain of human achievement. There are people who had no business succeeding, no credentials, no permission, no advantage except one. They understood that identity creates reality. They knew the secret of the I am. There are people in your exact situation that did it, and so can you. Feel this truth landing in your cells now. Not as hope, not as possibility, as fact, as law, as inevitable as gravity. Every excuse you've ever made is dissolving. Every limitation you've accepted is revealed as fiction. Every story about what you can't be, what you can't do, who you can't become, it's all collapsing. Because you've just witnessed the proof, not theory, not philosophy, proof written in human lives. Your body knows this is true. Feel it. That tingling in your spine, that expansion in your chest, that electricity in your hands. That's not excitement. That's recognition. That's your consciousness remembering what it's capable of. That's your DNA activating to match your new understanding. You're not the same person who started listening to this. You can't be, because now you know. And once you know, you can't unknow. Once you see, you can't unsee. The door is open, and it can never be closed again. Right now, your brain is rewiring. New neural pathways are forming. Old limitations are being deleted. This is measurable scientific fact. When deep belief shifts, the brain physically changes, and your belief is shifting now, not tomorrow, not when you're ready, now, in this moment. Allow it. Feel the authority rising in you. The same authority that Vera Wang felt when she declared herself a designer. The same authority James Murray felt when he became a scholar. The same authority that Curtis Carroll felt when he became Wall Street. It's not their authority. It's the authority of consciousness itself, and it's yours. You don't need anyone's permission. You don't need the right circumstances. You don't need to heal first or learn first or prepare first. You don't need to be born in a certain place or have a certain skin color. Those are all lies that keep consciousness imprisoned. You need only one thing: the audacity to declare I am and mean it with every atom of your being. Can you feel that? The old you is fighting to survive, throwing up every doubt, every fear, but what about? That's not resistance. That's confirmation. That's the old identity recognizing its death. Let it die. Let it dissolve. It was never you anyway. It was just a role you played so long you forgot you were acting. The universe is waiting for your declaration. Reality is poised to reorganize now. Every atom in your existence is listening for your I am, not hoping you'll succeed, knowing you will, because consciousness cannot fail to create. It's what consciousness does. It's what you are. This moment is the pivot point, the quantum shift, the timeline split. In one timeline, you go back to who you were, treating this as interesting information. In another timeline, you become, you shift, you declare, you assume the identity that changes everything. Which timeline will you choose? Don't think about it, feel it. Feel the version of you who already made the shift. They're not in the future. They're in a parallel now, reaching through the quantum field, ready to merge with you the instant you say yes. Feel their confidence flowing into you. Feel their certainty becoming your certainty. Feel their reality becoming your reality. You want proof this works? You are about to become the proof. Your life is about to become the evidence. Your transformation is about to become the testimony that awakens others in their own power. But it starts with belief, not the kind of belief that hopes, the kind of belief that knows, the kind of belief that reorganizes matter, the kind of belief that bends reality, the kind of belief that looks at limitation and laughs because it knows the secret. There are no limitations except the ones consciousness accepts. And you don't accept them anymore. You can't, because you've seen too much. You know too much. You are too much to ever go back to playing small. The shift is available. All that remains is your declaration, your I am, your becoming. This revolution doesn't start tomorrow. The revolution is now. The revolution is you. The revolution is the moment consciousness remembers it can be anyone. And that moment is this one. Stand up. Stand up right now. Wherever you are, stand up. Because you can't receive this sitting down. You can't become from a place of passivity. Stand up. Feel your feet on the ground. You're not just standing, you're standing as someone new. Someone who just discovered they have the power of gods. Someone who just learned they can reshape reality with 2 words. Someone who has just realized every limitation was a lie they agreed to believe. Spread your arms wide, because you're not small anymore. You're not confined anymore. You're not limited anymore. You're expanding into the infinite possibility that you've always been. Stretch those arms wider. Feel yourself taking up space. Feel yourself claiming your dominion over reality. Now declare it out loud. Not in your head, out loud. Say it. I am unlimited. Say it again. I am unlimited. Louder, like you're announcing it to every atom in the universe. I am unlimited. Feel that power coursing through you. That's not adrenaline. That's not emotion. That's the creative force of existence recognizing itself as you. That's the same power that builds galaxies and splits atoms and beats billions of hearts right now, and it's yours, it's you. The old you is dead, gone, dissolved into the quantum field, and this you can be anyone, can do anything, can have everything, not because you earned it, Not because you deserve it, but because you declared it, because you remembered it, because you are it. Look around. Everything looks different now, doesn't it? Because you're not seeing through the same eyes. You're not thinking with the same brain. You're not living in the same reality. You have shifted. You've jumped timelines. You've entered a universe where miracles aren't miracles. They are just what happens when consciousness remembers what it is. Can you feel them? The million versions of you across infinite timelines celebrating this moment? The successful you, the healthy you, the wealthy you, the loved you, the powerful you, all converging now, merging into this you. You are becoming all of them. This isn't the end of this activation. This is the beginning of your new existence. Every morning when you wake up, you get to choose, who am I today? Because you can be anyone you want to be. Every moment you get to decide, what really am I creating? Every breath you get to declare, I am. You came here as one person. You're leaving as pure possibility. You came here with problems. You're leaving as the solution. You came here seeking. You're leaving as the answer. The universe is reorganizing around your new identity now, right now. Opportunities are being arranged, people are being guided towards you, circumstances are shifting, reality is bending, all because you remembered the truth. You can be anyone. No more asking permission. No more waiting for the right time. No more excuses. No more preparing to be ready. You are ready now. You're powerful now. You're unlimited now. The shift has happened. This activation is complete. The revolution has begun. And you're not just part of the revolution. You are the revolution. Welcome to the reality revolution. Hello, it's Brian Scott. And I'm beyond excited to finally announce a live, in-person, 3-day event that I'm hosting in Los Angeles on November 21st through the 23rd. And when you walk away from this event, your life will be changed forever. Whatever it is that you're looking for right now, if you need to heal from something, to find the love of your life, to find wealth, to find your purpose, to ascend, to evolve, whatever that is, whatever your desire, this event is designed to bring that to you. There is a timeline available for you where you can live the very best life that you could ever imagine, where everything is always working out for you. And this event is designed to shift you into that reality and make it something tangible and real that you experience. I promise you that this will change your life.